Hey guys, so here we are, Katie and I, Carissa, and I know you guys want to know why I haven't had sex in 4.5 years, but we're going to have to say that for another segment because today is a very important topic, and Katie is brave enough to share her experience with this extraordinary healer who I absolutely adore and who I am going to share with each and every one of you. He is an EFT practitioner, which is Emotional Freedom Technique, and he is offering sessions by donation with no obligation to pay. So I'm going to post all of that information on the Cosmic Optimist page. Well, we know what is a false guru and a real guru. Pretty much a false guru is, as we mentioned in the intro video, they pretty much just want money and followers, but more than anything, admiration and love, right? Because they haven't worked on their own stuff. And, you know, some of you may be thinking, well, how does Carissa know this, right? Who is Carissa to say what is a false guru versus a real guru? And, you know, I want to share this, but I'm not proud of this number. I have been guilty as charged. I have visited over 300 healers, psychics, clairvoyants, curanderos, santeros, and probably a few frijoleros. So
I don't know what that means.
It's a very ghetto psychic.
Okay.
So that you know was my experience, and I can say that less than 50% of them were actually really, really good, and you know, channeling deceased loved ones, your pets, and you know, information that we need to hear, not that we want to hear, from the higher spiritual realms. That's another segment I think I'm going to cover, because a lot of people aren't aware that a lot of these psychics, healers, or whatever you want to call them, are channeling from the lower realms, and there is a posse of dark forces out there, because from a cosmic perspective, we do live on a very dark planet. So those are some of the examples of the phony balonies.
Sorry, I had something in my eye. That's why I ducked out for a second.
It's okay.
That was the best of us.
We're doing the best that we can in this studio. So, guys, I want to ask Katie if she's... Well, I'm pretty sure you're wondering if she's had experience with false gurus. Now, you know, I've had my share, and that's only a snippet. I've actually... I'll get into more detail when I do the segment on Ascension, because there are some... spiritual wanksters, supposedly gangsters, ascension masters, who claim to speed up your ascension. So I'll get into that later. I don't want to overwhelm everyone with all of this information. But let's ask Katie. So Katie, I know you mentioned a few times that you did visit a psychic. Wait, did I take you to a psychic? No, I didn't. Oh, so I take all my friends to psychics. So I know she...
I would like to go. Are you going to take me?
Oh my God! Yes, I have a list, girl. So I did refer her to this healer that she's going to be sharing her experience with. But I know that you do have an experience, with another healer, correct?
Yes. So I saw a healer previous to Glenn, and she was very kind and also offered services at a serious discount, which has been very necessary for me. And she mainly focused... I'd never seen a healer before. I was completely new to all of this, and so I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really know, you know, how it should feel. She mainly focused on diet for me, which I really tried to follow it to the T, but again, you know, due to budgetary reasons and things like that, it was kind of difficult, because she wanted me to stay completely organic and non-GMO and all this stuff, and I was like, I don't think I'm ready for this yet, and what I really needed was emotional work. Mm-hmm. And maybe, you know, I think honestly, like, I don't want to disparage her at all, because like I said, she did a lot for me, and she was really great, and we did do some emotional work, but there were just bigger issues that I think I needed to tackle, and even I wasn't aware yet, so how could she have known, you know? So that was my experience with my first healer.
And I'm glad that Katie mentioned emotional, because our emotions are the trigger for practically everything that happens in our physical body. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, like Katie mentioned, the nutrition, that's how I started on my journey, you know, for about 20 years. not a cougar yet. For 20, for about 20 years.
How old are you?
For about 20 years, I was just so obsessed when I jumped out of the womb. So I was so obsessed with everything nutrition. I wouldn't eat anything unless it was organic. And, it was like, oh my God, nutrition this, nutrition that. And, throughout the years, I've learned that, it's really not, it's important, of course. I mean, I don't have GMOs and Twinkies in my house, but, I'm more lenient now with what I eat. But when you realize, that when you learn that the emotions are the trigger, you want to get into deeper healing modalities, not just nutrition stuff. So I'm glad she mentioned emotions, because that really is, the core, the core of all our bullshit. I just like that word. So, she worked with, she had the opportunity to work with Glenn Russell, who I just spoke of, and he is the real deal. And when I say the real deal, he is going to tell you, he's a practitioner who's going to tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. And this is why a lot of people avoid fully anchoring themselves on the spiritual path, because it's tough. It's really tough. And you're going to do that until the day you exit this plane of existence. And, I've actually referred quite a few people to him, and some people didn't go through with it, which is fine. No judgment. They weren't ready for it. But I think if you are ready and willing, and you can suspend some of your, disbelief. That's the word. Then I think you're going to enjoy not only Katie's testimonial, but a free session that I'm going to share with each and every one of you. So, Katie, I have a few questions for you. What was your feeling before, like when I referred you to Glenn? What was your feeling, or your hesitation? Did you have any hesitation or the feeling about Glenn before working with him? Because he does work through Skype. So how did you feel when I referred you to him and you read his bio? Let's. How did she feel after she read his bio? Because it's a pretty lengthy bio.
So first, can I say my spiel that I had kind of prepared?
Absolutely. Since I didn't prepare anything.
Actually, and I don't know, we might start with that, I'm not sure. But a little bit about me, first of all. I consider myself to be an intelligent person. I believe in science. If it comes from a reputable source, I take it as fact. But I'm also very open-minded. I think there's a lot that, science and medicine can't necessarily help with yet, or they just don't know yet. And so I have an open mind to things that I might not, know about or understand. Something else that's important to know about me is I have been struggling for most of my life with mood disorders, namely depression and anxiety. One doctor diagnosed me with bipolar disorder, so I've had that just goes to show my spotty experience with therapists and medicine, because I haven't been able to see a therapist for long enough, or maybe they just weren't the right one, or just for various reasons. It's been a struggle. It's been a huge struggle for me, and so it got to a point where I've wanted to kill myself a couple times in my life, and it got to a point where I wanted to kill myself, a couple months ago, and I kind of had nowhere to turn. I didn't have enough money to see a therapist, even though I have health insurance. I wasn't on medications. I've had troubles with medications. And I'd seen I'd seen a healer, and so I wanted to see, maybe there's another option. Maybe I don't need to go to a psych ward and just put my life on hold and not be able to, because I wanted so desperately to be a functional adult, but I also, it turned out I hated myself, and I, didn't want to be here. So I told this to Carissa, and she kindly referred me to Glenn, who was again able to see me by donation. I didn't have the money, but he saw me, and so you asked about his bio.
Yes. What was your
When I read his bio, honestly, I didn't have a whole lot of time to read it because he saw me that same week. Carissa told me he books out months in advance. He saw me that same week because he knew what my needs were urgent. And his bio, it was about him, his journey. I think I read more of it after our sessions. He did a lot of work on himself, honestly, just kind of, working through his emotional issues, himself, talking to God, and I can't remember.
There's just so much. It's a lengthy bio because you can't really, like myself, I can't include everything in just one bio. So it's got to be like a snippet of kind of like, where you're at and kind of what got you to where you're at. But it's a lengthy bio. I'm going to post it on the Cosmic Optimist page because I think it's important that people read this. You may resonate with some of the stuff in his bio, and like Katie, you may resonate with some of the the issues that she dealt with and is still dealing with. So I think it's important because emotional freedom technique works. And for those of you who are skeptical about emotional freedom technique, it really gets to the core of your emotions, the crap that we all carry. And I posted a video about it so you can see some of the ailments that it's good at resolving.
So I can speak to our sessions a little bit. So the emotional freedom technique, it's kind of weird. Again, I was new to all of this, but I came in with an open mind. And that's something that's really important that you mentioned is like just kind of coming into seeing Glenn or any healer with an open mind, just kind of, accepting, what they tell you, take it with a grain of salt if you have to, or, just take what resonates with you. I think that's the best way to say it.
Yeah, and it's true. And it is, we hear this a lot in the New Age community, spiritual, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So we're all teachers, right? If you think about it, we're all teachers because we are teaching each other. We're marrying each other, our faults and bullshit that we need to work through. Can you kind of describe some of the things you did with the emotional freedom technique as far as the tapping on the face so they can, they know what to expect should they take the opportunity to, email him for a session?
Sure. So the emotional freedom technique is basically you like tap on your face, and I think right here, I think I really liked this one for some reason. Mm-hmm. While you're kind of saying things that are emotionally charged. Like I told him about, our first session was basically all about my dad and something that had happened with him. And so he was kind of he just kind of coaches you based on what to say, and as you're saying it, it's really, like I said, emotionally charged. It's the whole point is to focus on that memory, and it's kind of like if you're an actor, it's kind of like sense memory where you're remembering something that happened to you and really reliving that moment, and also kind of bringing in a higher perspective to it. So he would say, this is what I'm saying to my dad, if I were to be talking to him about this, or talking to God or something like that. And it really, it causes a big emotional reaction, but it really, you feel so cleansed once it's over.
And it's different, and because I've seen a psychiatrist too, and I was like a guinea pig for that psychiatrist. I was on so many different meds. It's another story, but it was bullshit. I'm not saying they didn't work because I think they worked for a few months. I needed that. It gave me focus, and then I weaned myself off of it because I was ready to take full responsibility for myself. So.
So that actually brings up a good point, too. Something I definitely want to make sure I say is that in no way am I saying, screw medical science, go see a healer. Right. Like, in no way am I saying that. Like, that's just my experience. They complement
each other.
Absolutely. I think my experience with Glenn helped me to kind of see my issues more clearly. not want to kill myself anymore, and just kind of be able to be more focused for when I see a therapist, because I fully plan on seeing one again. And so absolutely, listen to what works for you, and just try to get all the help that you can, because you deserve it. You deserve to be here.
Right.
Trust me, I'm like Jon Snow. Like, I shouldn't, for all intents and purposes, I shouldn't be here.
Right.
But I am.
Right.
And I'm so thankful to Glenn and to Carissa and to everyone who has helped me to stay here.
Aww.
So pause. We're gonna need to
It's
cut.
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
No, it's okay.
Well, my makeup's gonna get messed up.
It's not. You look fabulous.
Okay.
So I do want to say that because this isn't an atheist channel, I think everyone should know that not only is Glenn trained, in emotional freedom technique, but he channels from the higher spiritual realms. And when I say the higher spiritual realms, I mean above and beyond the emotional, the mental, and the etheric realm, which is more pure. I'll get into that later. I don't think we have time to talk about that now, but there's a big difference when you work with someone who's actually done the work, who continues to do the work, and who's actually channeling information, right? And a higher understanding from the higher realms. And he's a rare bird, okay? I haven't met a lot of them, and I've been to a lot. So, I told her he's like a walking Jesus. He really is. And his goal is to help humanity, right? And this is why he offers his services for no charge at all. And
it's by donation, and I highly recommend. I mean, I know when I have money and I'm able to donate to him, I will. Yeah. And I highly recommend that you do if you can.
Yeah.
But
and
I want to give him all the money. I mean,
right.
He saved my life. So.
He's pretty amazing. And like Katie, she had an emotional moment right now. And I know I asked her. I said, were you crying during your session? She says, oh yeah. Well, I had the session with him a couple of years ago, and mine was 4 days back to back, 2 hours a day, and I was bawling. Because he called me out on my shit, and that's what.
Also that.
that's what a real healer will do. They're not going to coax your ego, and they're not going to tell you what you want to hear. So that's how you can distinguish who is of God and who is not. So speaking of free, not only does Glenn offer his services by donation with no obligation to pay, but hold on. He also has this, it's called the Holy Spirit of, I don't know if you guys can see it, the Holy Spirit of God's, the resurrection and the life. I have this in PDF form, so I can send it to anyone who wants it. It is pretty amazing. It's a 144-day meditation, and it's a lot of stuff. It's just a 144-day meditation that you can use to work on yourself, right? To tackle your own emotions. And even if you don't start it now, I think it's important just to read through it, because it triggers a lot of stuff that you may not even be aware that you're holding on to. So I know there's going to be a lot of controversy with this, because the conspiracy theorists on my page are probably going to say this. This is part of the Illuminati or Freemasonry.
Oh my God.
And then the other people might think, oh, the Holy Spirit of God's, the resurrection and the life is going to think it's part of a religion. This has no affiliation with religion, Illuminati, reptilian, so fuck y'all. I'm telling you.
Fuck y'all. Fuck all y'all.
It's the real deal. And I wouldn't share with you something that I felt was going to, derail you off the path, because I wish I would have seen something like this prior to spending all this money and wasting all of this time with these other phony balonies who served a purpose, by the way. I don't want to talk so much crap about them. The reason why I fell for this, these people who were not in the light, or sometimes not even aware that they're channeling from the lower realms. I wasn't ready to take full responsibility for myself. I wanted a quick fix. So that's some of the difficult things that I needed to work through, and accepting that it was I was at fault, right? So had I not gone through all of that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today and, sharing this with you guys.
That's something I wanted to address too is, there's a huge, what Glenn pointed out to me and made me realize is there's a huge chain of cause and effect that happens, basically as soon as you're born. What he, and he can explain this much better, Chris can explain this much better, but basically in a nutshell, he said, before you're born, you make decisions on who you're going to meet and what's going to happen to you. And so these things happen for a reason. And at first, admittedly, what crossed my brain was victim blaming. Like, I'm responsible for, the stuff that happens to me. But it's so that you can evolve spiritually, and I believe very strongly in evolution. And so that makes sense to me. And so you choose these things to happen, and had I not seen that first healer, had I not taken a groundlings class, had I not, decided to move here, even though I knew I still wasn't psychologically the best, I wouldn't have been led to Glenn. There's a huge, Gene Wilder has a book called Kiss Me Like a Stranger, and one of my favorite parts of it is that I think every chapter, every time something big happens, he's like, had I not gone through that divorce, I wouldn't have met Mel Brooks or something like that. And it's like, that's what everyone's life is like.
Right.
And so once you realize that, I know it makes me feel better, knowing that,
I've perspective.
we encounter these false gurus for a reason.
Well, yeah. When you haven't learned the lesson that you're supposed to learn, you're going to be faced with the same situation over and over again. It's like relationships,
Yeah, there are patterns.
It's like I've dated the same guy over and over again.
That's
different guy with a different face.
Yeah, psychology. It's kind of like psychology in that. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is very similar to what I've done in therapy or what I've explored in therapy, like writing a letter that you'll never send. Things like that. That is something that people teach you that helps you. That aren't healers, and Glenn kind of advocates the same things. So,
and I'm glad she mentioned cause and effect. That's one of the fundamental laws of the universe, which is free will and the law of cause and effect. Which karma, we always hear that word.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and there's it's interesting because I've seen a lot of the word karma being thrown around, and I kind of feel like people haven't really researched what karma really is, because it's really not such a bad thing if you really, really understand it. And I think I'll talk more about that later. However,
we should talk about false gurus, I think, a little
a little bit more. So do you want to ask me anything else, or what type of false gurus? So we mentioned the ascension type who...
We mentioned the ascension type. Right. We mentioned the multidimensional life coach last week.
Watch the intro.
She's a mess.
A mess. God bless her soul. This is now, speaking of the dark forces, when these spiritual gangsters, supposedly gangsters, I like that, when they start playing with fire, and it's interesting because this same multidimensional life coach mentioned, we're being manipulated by the dark forces just because she read an article or something. Well, no, you're being manipulated by the dark forces, because when you start playing with greed and it's all about you, I'm sorry, but you tap into the emotional realm, which is also known as the astral plane, because our emotional bodies are connected to the emotional realm. So we talked about her and the prosperity gurus.
We talked about prosperity gurus a little bit.
We kind of touched on them.
But I think we need to talk about that more.
Okay.
Specifically the false gurus that we both fell for at one point.
Yeah. So, as you know, The Secret is very popular. I'm just going to touch on this briefly.
Yeah.
But it's a stupid book, in my opinion, because they don't explain why The Secret doesn't work for everyone and how it can work for everyone, right? Because again, people are gravitate towards books like The Secret and the Law of Attraction because they want to visualize and they want a quick fix, but they don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
So, what happens with a lot of these prosperity gurus, by the way, I don't have anything against all of them, because like Tony Robbins, I think, is amazing. I mean, you can Google his stuff on YouTube and watch it for free. He's the only prosperity guru I recommend. But there are other prosperity gurus who read the Law of Attraction, or they'll read other prosperity books or spiritual books, mainstream spiritual books. And then they kind of just, put the information in their own words, and then they'll charge a couple of $100 or more for 3-day workshops, and they'll say, oh, we'll teach you how to be more prosperous and target limiting beliefs, which is a bunch of bullshit. And I see through it because I've been bamboozled by some of these people in the past. And so they think no one can see through their, their film of filth. But I can. And, so they're surprised when people like me can call them out, and I don't think they like it very much. But, I think, Katie, you had I don't want to, name anyone, but you had a feeling about the people we're kind of referring to?
Yeah. So this group of people, they prey on actors, which is sad because actors get preyed on a lot, and we only have so much money to be giving to these things. And without calling them out specifically, they kind of bring everybody together, and it's like you're going to learn something, or you're going to become more prosperous, or learn your potential, when really you just kind of sit there and listen to them talk about their views on stuff, and it is basically The Secret.
Repetition.
And then
in their own words.
We do kind of a guided meditation, but even that is kind of meh, having done meditation before.
Well, I told Katie, and I told them, I said, I don't have a problem with the introduction, the cheaper, workshops, the bigger I don't have a problem with that, because there's a lot of people that are curious, and they need to have the very, very basic tools, because obviously this information that I'm going to be sharing, and I'm going to get deeper as the videos, go along, the months go on. I wouldn't introduce this to a beginner student, a spiritual student. However, when they start dabbling, they see that they're making money off the little ones. So like, well, how can we make more money, right? So let's charge hundreds of dollars for a prosperity workshop. I'm sorry. That's where I'm going to draw the line. And I know a lot of them have said, oh, well, I'm projecting, or I'm being judgmental. Well, I just want to tell you guys something. You have every right to be at the level of consciousness that you're at, just as I have every right to call you out on your bullshit. And I'm saying that with divine love. If you don't know what divine love is, watch the intro. Because, we hear this all the time. Oh, raise your frequency, raise your vibration, raise your consciousness. Kind of all means the same thing. However, how do you expect to raise your consciousness, your frequency, or your vibration if you're not willing to look at the beam in your own eye? That's the only way, the true way to raise your frequency. So when these people prance around town, these spiritual people prance around town, claiming that they have this high frequency, but they are offended, God forbid, by me when I call them out on their bullshit, that just confirms to me that they're not at the level that they claim to be at. So, it's nothing against them or any of the others who do this, but it's kind of just saying, guys, wake up, right? At the end of the day, you're a phony. Why would you do that? Because walking the spiritual path can be a beautiful thing. And in case you guys haven't noticed, our planet is going down the shitter. So we need more light instead of, feeding the darkness. So, guys, that's the end of our discussion today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to post them on the Facebook page, The Cosmic Optimist.
Feel free to reach out to us specifically. Right. Feel free to direct message me on Twitter. I think I put
Twitter or Facebook? Oh, Twitter. Okay. Yeah. You can DM her. But wait, they have to follow you back So follow her, and then she'll follow you back if you want a private message.
However you want it, try to reach out to me. I promise I check my Facebook messages, my other folder,
Right.
I check both folders.
And you can direct message me if you don't want anyone to see the questions, but I think it's important that you post them on the page as well, because other people learn from reading the questions, those who are hesitant, to expose.
Yeah, feel free to comment any topics that you want to see at the bottom of the video, and feel free to like this video if you liked it, and share with your friends.
We're open to criticism as well. No problem there. I don't care. Just what do you like? What do you don't like? And some other topics you would like to for us to address, as far as anything cosmic goes. Thank you, guys. Until next time. Bye.